The Mystery of the Phantom Killer of Texarkana. Welcome to Ontario Cold Cases, Canada's True Crime Podcast. Hosted by J. Nicoll, Nicoll Investigations. Each week, we examine unsolved mysteries with the precision of a cold case review. No speculation, just facts. Today, the mystery of the Phantom Killer of Texarkana. Section 1. The Town on the Line. Good evening, listeners. I'm J. Nicoll. Our story unfolds in Texarkana, a bustling railroad hub of approximately 30,000 residents in 1946. Uniquely cleaved in two by the stark Texas-Arkansas state line. The Texas side sprawls across Bowie County, with its dusty red clay roads and pine thickets. The Arkansas side lies in Miller County, marked by rolling hills and isolated farmsteads. This invisible border would prove a tangled barrier for law enforcement, splitting responses across rival jurisdictions. On Halloween night 1946, October 31st, the community's streets lay eerily deserted under a chill autumn moon, gripped by raw terror from a series of brutal attacks that began in February of that year. The unidentified assailant, dubbed the Phantom Killer by the Texarkana Gazette, stalked young couples in pitch black, pine-shrouded lovers' lanes, killing 5 people and wounding 3 others in savage ambushes. The incidents became known as the Texarkana Moonlight Murders, though the lunar phase did not consistently align with the attacks. Despite an exhaustive manhunt involving local sheriffs, Texas Rangers, and the FBI, the Phantom Killer melted into the night, never identified or apprehended. The case remains unsolved. The series of crimes inspired the 1976 cult classic film, The Town That Dreaded Sundown, directed by Charles B. Pierce, which dramatized the events and was filmed partly in Texarkana with local residents as extras. Tonight, we review the documented facts, the attacks, the victims, the evidence, and the investigation that failed to bring closure. Let's begin with the first incident. Section 2. Attack 1, February 22nd, 1946. The series ignited on Friday, February 22nd, 1946, just before midnight, under a starless East Texas sky. The victims were Jimmy Hollis, a lanky 25-year-old service station attendant, and Mary Jeanne Larry, a poised 19-year-old stenographer, both white residents of Texarkana. After a casual date at a local cafe, they parked Hollis's gleaming black 1941 Chevrolet in a desolate, gravel-strewn stretch of Richmond Road, known locally as a Lover's Lane, near the tangled underbrush of Cowhorn Creek on the Texas side. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp pine needles and distant wood smoke. Suddenly, a blinding beam pierced the driver's side window. A man loomed from the shadows, his face obscured by a crude white cloth mask, resembling a pillowcase yanked from a feed sack, with jagged holes slashed for eyes, covering from his nose down. His voice cut through the silence. "Take off your effing pants." When Hollis froze in confusion, the assailant smashed a pistol butt into his temple, shattering bone with a sickening crack. Blood sprayed across the dashboard as Hollis crumpled unconscious onto the gravel, his skull fractured in multiple places. The attacker wrenched open Larry's door, demanding money. She thrust her purse forward, but he snarled he wanted none of it. He ordered her to run into the moonlit woods. As she stumbled through the underbrush, thorns tearing at her skirt, he chased her down, slammed the gun butt into her skull 3 times. The blows split her scalp, blood matting her blonde hair. He then forced her to the ground and sexually assaulted her with the cold barrel of the weapon, its metal glinting in the faint light. Distant headlights swept the road, spooking him into flight. Dazed and bleeding, Larry staggered a quarter mile to a weathered frame house at 805 Glanton Street, pounding on the door until the startled resident summoned police. Hollis, meanwhile, regained consciousness amid the pine needles and crawled to safety. Both survived after emergency treatment at Michael Mayo Hospital. Hollis with a battered skull and temporary blindness. Larry with deep head lacerations and profound trauma. They described the attacker as a white male, approximately 6 feet tall, 170 pounds, clad in dark trousers. His masked face a ghostly void. The weapon, .32 caliber pistol. Bowie County Sheriff Bill Presley led the initial response, treating it as an isolated assault. No arrests were made. Up next, a second attack. Section 3, Attack Number 2, March 23rd to 24th, 1946. 3 weeks later, on the humid night of Saturday, March 23rd into early Sunday, March 24, 1946, the killer struck again under a canopy of rustling oaks. The victims were Richard L. Dick Griffin, a rugged 29-year-old World War II veteran with a fresh crew cut, and Polly Ann Moore, a petite 17-year-old waitress, both white. After a double date, they parked Griffin's boxy 1941 Oldsmobile sedan on a rutted, pine-flanked lane off South Robinson Road, another notorious lover's lane, but 100 yards south of Highway 67 West on the Texas side. Crickets chirped in the warm March air as they embraced in the front seat. Passing motorists discovered their bodies at dawn. Sprawled in grotesque tableau inside the car, Griffin slumped over the steering wheel, .32 caliber bullet hole gaping in the back of his head, blood congealed in dark pools on the cracked leather upholstery. Moore lay twisted in the back seat, her floral dress soaked crimson from a matching execution-style wound. Bloodstains trailed outside onto the sandy soil, showing they had been dragged from the car, shot kneeling on the cold ground, and hauled back inside like discarded puppets. Autopsies confirmed the gunshot wounds as a cause of death. Moore bore signs of sexual assault, her undergarments torn. Sheriff Presley announced the investigation in the March 27, 1946 Texarkana Gazette, urging residents to report facts directly to authorities and avoid rumors. The attacks were now irrevocably linked to February's horror. No weapon was recovered from the blood-soaked scene, only metallic tang of gunpowder lingering in the air. Section 4, Attack 3, April 13th and 14th, 1946. The third attack erupted on Saturday, April 13, and early Sunday, April 14, 1946. Spring dogwoods bloomed white along rural roads. The victims were Paul Martin, a clean-cut 16-year-old high school junior with dreams of college, and Betty Jo Booker, a vivacious 15-year-old sophomore and saxophonist, both white. Martin had picked up Booker after a band's swinging performance at a Veterans of Foreign Wars club. Around midnight, they parked Martin's shiny green 1946 Ford near the shadowy entrance to Spring Lake Park on the Texas side, the lake's surface rippling black under a sliver of moon. Martin's body was found around 6:30 a.m. Sunday by a milkman, lying face down the dew-slick gravel of North Park Road, his Letterman jacket matted with blood. He'd been shot 4 times with a .32 caliber pistol, once through the nose, shattering cartilage, once through the left fourth rib from behind, piercing his lung, once in the right hand, mangling fingers, once through the back of the neck, severing his spine. Crimson Trail led 200 feet along the fence road to a barbed wire gap. Booker's body lay 2 miles away, propped grotesquely against a gnarled oak in the woods, her band uniform ripped and bloodied. She'd been shot twice, once in the face, exploding her left cheek, once in the chest, collapsing a lung, and showed horrific signs of torture and sexual assault. Her saxophone case flung empty nearby. Martin's car sat abandoned 3 miles away, keys dangling in the ignition, engine still warm. Booker's saxophone turned up days later in a muddy roadside ditch, its gold lacquer dulled by grime. The community reeled in panic. Police began patrolling the lovers' lanes with floodlights piercing the night. Section 5. Attack number 4, May 3rd, 1946. The final confirmed attack shattered the rural quiet on Friday, May 3rd, 1946. This time, the killer deviated, targeting Virgil Starks, a sturdy 37-year-old farmer with calloused hands, and his wife Katie, a resilient 36-year-old homemaker, at their weathered 2-story farmhouse on a vast 500-acre cotton spread 10 miles northeast of Texarkana on the Arkansas side. Azaleas bloomed vibrantly outside Virgil lounged in a creaky armchair by the living room window. Texarkana Gazette spread across his lap, under the soft glow of a kerosene lamp. At 5:45 p.m., 2 sharp cracks showered the glass like thunder. A .22 caliber semi-automatic rifle bullet tore through Virgil's skull from behind, exploding gray matter across the floral wallpaper. He slumped dead, newspaper fluttering to the blood-spattered floor. Katie rushed to him screaming, then lunged for the wall phone. Another shot blasted through the same jagged window hole, striking her twice in the face, one bullet shattering her jaw, the other lodging in her forehead. Blood streamed down her nightgown as she collapsed. Miraculously, Katie rose on trembling legs, grabbed a rifle, and crawled 200 yards through dew-drenched grass to the neighbor's porch, leaving a smeared trail of crimson. She survived after weeks in Wadley Hospital, her face rebuilt through painful surgeries. Evidence included a dented 2-cell metal flashlight, painted red on both ends, abandoned in the dooryard. Fresh tire tracks gouged the dirt lane. Though the weapon differed, tire patterns matched prior scenes. By November 1948, some investigators disconnected it after arresting a local for unrelated crimes, but consensus links it to the Phantom. Texarkana locked down. Residents bolted doors with chains, armed shotguns by every window, and fled to hotels under cover of dusk. Up next, the investigation and evidence. Section 6. The investigation and evidence. The manhunt swelled into a frenzied spectacle, engulfing Bowie County Sheriff Bill Presley, a stern cigar-chomping veteran, Miller County Sheriff W.E. Davis, Texas Rangers led by the legendary Captain Manuel Lone Wolf Gonzalez in his Stetson and polished boots, Arkansas State Police, and FBI agents in crisp suits. Nearly 400 suspects were hauled into dimly lit station houses for grilling. Costs topped $50,000 in 1946 dollars, with bloodhounds baying through moonlit thickets. Key evidence. Weapons. A .32 caliber Colt revolver for attacks 2 and 3. Its rifling etching unique grooves on recovered slugs. .22 caliber rifle for attack 4. Ballistics from the Dallas Crime Lab confirmed the .32's deadly signature. Mask. Survivors described a ghostly white pillowcase-style hood, string-tied with ragged eye slits flapping in the breeze. Footprints. Size 9.5 to 10 Florsheim Oxfords, pressed deeply into soft clay at 3 scenes, captured in plaster casts showing distinctive tread wear. Other, the red painted flashlight at Starks is smeared with soil zigzagging tire tracks from bias-ply tires, no fingerprints on brass casings, no DNA, technology decades away. Bloodhounds traced musky scents to highways and lost them amid truck exhaust. Polygraphs hummed in back rooms, clearing dozens amid sweat-soaked denials. False confessions poured in, including a forged suicide note from a University of Arkansas student, scrawled in trembling ink. Suspects interrogated? The top 3. Number 1, Earl D. Russell, local 23-year-old, arrested October 1946. His alibi? In jail for burglary during attacks, 2 to 4. He was released. Number 2, Vernon Leggett, drifter, arrested November 1946. Owned a .38 revolver. Footprints matched. Released. Alibi for attack 1. Number 3, William Bill Warner, mechanic, arrested September 1946. Khaki clothes, no mask. Released, didn't match height. FBI polygraphs cleared 47. Bloodhounds tracked scents to highways but lost them. By December 1946, leads dried up, and the case went cold. However, there was one primary suspect. Youell Swinney, a wiry 29-year-old car thief with a scarred face and twitchy demeanor, arrested in July 1946 after a dusty stakeout. His wife Peggy, a sharp 18-year-old, blurted details only the killer knew. Mask type, flashlight theft. But after marrying him in a quick courthouse ceremony, she recanted under spousal privilege, her testimony evaporating like morning fog. Swinney was convicted of auto theft as a habitual offender and sentenced to life in the stark gray walls of Huntsville Penitentiary, paroled in 1973. He died obscurely in 1994. No murder charges stuck. The evidence? Too thin as spider silk. Despite lifelong convictions from 2 lead investigators, Max Tackett and Tillman Johnson, no physical evidence tied him directly to the crimes, and the case against him faded without prosecution. Swinney's crimes were opportunistic. He targeted unlocked cars in rural lots, hot-wired them with practiced ease, and drove them for bootleg rides or resale. By 1946, he lived as a tenant on a Murfreesbee, Arkansas farm, owing rent, and was known locally as a smooth-talking drifter, charmed women but intimidated associates. The connection to the Phantom Killer case? Swinney entered the investigation in June 1946, when Arkansas State Trooper Max Tackett noticed a pattern. Each murder coincided with a local car theft, followed by an abandoned vehicle. Farmer reported his deadbeat tenant, Swinney, fleeing with a stolen plate. On June 28, 1946, troopers staked out a parking lot and arrested Peggy Stevens, 18, driving a stolen 1946 Plymouth. She claimed it was her boyfriend's. Hours later, she married Swinney in a courthouse ceremony to invoke spousal privilege. Under interrogation in Miller County Jail, Peggy confessed repeatedly over days, providing details only the killer or an accomplice would know, especially about the April 14 Booker Martin double homicide. Swinney shot Paul Martin 4 times, verified by the autopsy: nose, rib, hand, and neck. Dragged Betty Jo Booker's body 2 miles to the woods, assaulting and torturing her. Matched crime scene. Discarded her saxophone in a ditch. Recovered there days later. Details on the white pillowcase mask and khaki clothes. Peggy led police to sites where Swinney allegedly burned bloody clothes in Dallas and hid items, verifying some locations. Swinney was arrested July 11, 1946, reportedly said, "You want or got me for more than stealing cars. And later, will they give me the chair?" Circumstantial ties. Possession of a faded work shirt, possibly from victim Virgil Starks. Laundry mark, STARK or STARR. Origin unclear. Footprints at scenes. Signs 9.5 to 10. Loosely matched his shoes. No alibi for most attacks. Claimed San Antonio for Booker Martin, but that was unproven. However, flaws emerged. Peggy recanted multiple times, claiming fear of Swinney or coercion by police. She wrote her parents that she lied to avoid sending an innocent man to the chair. Story shifted. Example, false Dallas burn site. Swinney's fingerprints didn't match scenes. No murder weapon was found. After her marriage, she invoked privilege and refused testimony. Prosecutors dropped murder charges by late 1946, focusing on theft. The attack stopped post-arrest, but a similar 1946 Florida killing, while he was jailed, raised doubts. The FBI released 200-plus pages of yellow files in 2020, including grainy crime scene photos of bloody interiors, but yielded no breakthroughs. Up next, the fallout and unsolved status. Section 7. The fallout and unsolved status. The murders carved terror into Texarkana's soul. Gun sales rocketed, shelves stripped bare. Families rigged clanging tin can alarms on fences and slept huddled in barricaded bedrooms. Drive-ins shuttered, streets empty by sundown, wind whispering through deserted porches. By summer 1946, the attacks ceased as abruptly as they begun. Survivors faded into quiet lives. Katie Starks, her face a mosaic of scars, died peacefully in 1993 at age 83. Reopened in the 1960s with fresh ballistics under fluorescent lab lights, the 1990s with early DNA hopes, 2010s with digital scans. No matches emerged from the evidence lockers. As of October 18, 2025, it's listed unsolved by Texas DPS and Arkansas State Police. The reasons? Pre-DNA errors, blind spots, jurisdictional feuds delaying warrants, Peggy's recanted words, rural vastness swallowing footprints. Section 8. Legacy and Halloween lore. The case's raw horror fueled media fires. The Town That Dreaded Sundown, 1976, captured the dread in grainy 16mm fog machines rolling over Texarkana sets. Its 2014 remake added fictional chases through misty pines. Annual screenings packed the Perot Theater's velvet seats, while phantom festivals draw ghost hunters to the lovers' lanes. Those survivors' families decry the carnival amid real graves. On Halloween 1946, jack-o'-lanterns flickered behind locked doors. Patrols' flashlights slice in the dark. Nearly 80 years later, the phantom's masked silhouette haunts the border towns as a collective memory, like an unvanished fog. It's a factual chronicle of the phantom killer. 5 dead, 3 wounded. No justice. Tips to Bowie County Sheriff's Office at 903-798-3149 or Miller County 870-774-3001. Because every case deserves answers, and every victim deserves justice. Subscribe now to Ontario Cold Cases, Canada's True Crime Podcast. Episodes available wherever you get your podcasts.